Okay, got cut off. Let's keep going. So same formula, 160 is 20%. So let's put our 20 in the percent spot. And is 160 of, we don't know. So let's look diagonal. Let's multiply our two that are a number and divide by the third. So let's go 160 times 100 divided by 20. That should give us our unknown value. So let's go 160 times 100 divided by 20 equals 800. So x equals 800. It doesn't make sense that 160 is 20% of 800. I would say that makes sense, right? 25% is going to be 200, so a little bit less than that. I would say that makes sense. So it's a good one. You can also check. You can go, 160 divided by 800. Is that going to give us 0.2? 160 divided by 800 should give us, there you go, 0.2 times that by 100 and you get 20%. So now let's try these ones. And this one you're welcome to use the same method. But what I like to do when we're finding this, you can remember that of often means times. And if we're looking for 30% of 16, what we can do here in this one is just think about converting 30 to a decimal. So 30% divided by 100 is going to give us 30% as a decimal, 0.30. And then we can multiply that by 16 and we will get our answer for that one. So 0.3 times 16. And I should mention before we do this, let's look at estimating reasonably. Okay, so if we look at half of 16, so 50% of 16 is going to be 8. So 50% of 16 is going to be 8. So half of 16 is 8. You can think of 25% of 16 is going to be 4. So kind of like half of that half. So we'd expect 30% to be in between those two, but closer to 4. So let's try it. Where's my calculator? So 0.3 times 16 equals 4.8. So that makes sense. It's between 4 and 8, but closer to 4. Let's try this one. We're looking for 110% of 85. So let's make a guess. We expect it to be more than 85. Not a lot more, but a bit more. And I know that 10% of 8 is going to be 8.5. So you can kind of guess a little bit what it's going to be, but you'd expect it to be a little bit more than 85, not drastically more and not less. So let's find 110% as a decimal. So let's go 110 divided by 100. It's going to give us 1.10. And then we're trying to find of, remember, which is multiplication. So let's do 1.10 times 85 and we get 93.5. There you go. So 93.5, that makes sense. So 110% of 85 is 93.5. Great. Next part of the lesson, we're going to look at percent increase and decrease. And if you write it down, here's the formula that we're going to use for this. So we're going to be looking at change over the original times 100. Okay, so that's an important one to know, write down, have with you on a quiz or test. So let's look for the change. Let's put it over the original times by 100 to get the percent increase or decrease. So let's do A. The price of gasoline increases from 1799 to 1949. So first we need to find the change. So it's at 1949. If we subtract 1.799, we'll get the difference. We'll get the change. So 1.949 subtract 1.799 equals 15 percent change. So now we can put the change 1.15 over the original. It increases from that much to that much. So 1.799 is the original. And whatever we get there, we're going to times it by 100, and that should give us the percent increase. So let's go 0.15 divided by 1.799 equals times 100 equals 8.3% increase. Okay. That makes sense. I mean, it's not a huge increase, but it's a bit. Let's look at the next one. The price of a car increases from $32,000 to $36,000. So how much does it? We need to find the change. So let's do 36,000 minus 32,000. And we find that it's changed by $4,000. So now let's put the change. Remember our formula up here, the change over the original. So it's changed by 4,000. The original price was 32,000. And whatever we get there, we're going to times by 100 to get the percent increase. So 4,000 divided by 32,000 equals times 100 equals a 12.5 increase in cost. Oops. My bad. And let's look at 3. Write each decrease as a percent. I think I took out 1, so write the decrease as a percent. So the number of employees decreases from 6,000 to 5,200. So let's figure out the change first. So we want the difference between these two numbers. Subtract 5,200 equals the change. Subtract 5,200, 1,600. And we're gonna, it decreases from this to this. So we got to have our change 1,600 over the original 6,800 times 100 equals 1,600 divided by 6,800 equals times 100 equals a 23.5 decrease, 5% decrease. Okay. And I guess we could say here if we want increase. It's up to you. Last, I want to show you 2 ways to solve these types of questions. So for A, I'm going to show you like the first way and the second way. For B, I'll show you the first way and the second way. So for A, length of 30 centimeters increases by 40. What's the new length? So we need to find what is 40% of 30. The way that we can do that is by going 40% times 30. And the best way to do that, I would say, is by doing 40% as a decimal. So we're going to go 40 divided by 100 to get it as a decimal, so 0.4. So 0.4 times 30 equals times 30 equals 12. So we have now, what is the new length? Well, we've got that 30 centimeters, and it increased by 12 centimeters. So 30 centimeters plus 12 centimeters equals 42 centimeters. So there you go. It increased by 40%. So increased by, we figured out what the 40% was, and we added it to the original length. And another way that you can do this is by understanding that if we're going to have, the original length plus another 40%, what we have in total here is 140%. So here to 30, that's 100%. And we have an additional 40% to 42, which brings us to 140%. So you could think about it from the beginning as just finding what's 140% of 30. So 140% of 30. And I would think about this as a decimal. Let's divide this by 100. We get 1.4 times 30. And it's going to give us the answer. I can show you on my calculator. Why not? 1.4 times 30 should give us 42. And there we go, 42 centimeters. So this way it kind of saves a step. You have to recognize that because it's increasing by 40, you're going to have that 100% plus the 40. And so you can skip the kind of adding step. Same here, we can, let's look at B. The mass of 50 grams decreases by 17%. What is the new mass? So we're trying to find 17% of 50. So let's figure that out. Let's look at that as a decimal. We're going to divide 17 by 100. We get 0.17 times 50 is going to give us 17% of 50. So 0.17 times 50 equals 8.5. So that's 17% of 50, and it's going down by that much. So we have our original 50 grams. We're minusing 8.5, and we're going to get 50 minus 8.5 equals 41.5 grams. Okay, so the mass was 50. It decreased by 17%. Now the new mass is 41.5. So that makes sense. It's gone down by a fraction. And in this one, what we can recognize is that if we have 100% of something, this is 50. That's 100%. If it's going to go down by 17, so minus 17%,